हरे हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरि हरि हरे कृष्णा माता जी, हरि बोल।
थैंक यू माता जी, हरे कृष्णा।
थैंक यू सो मच उमा माता जी, हरि बोल, हरे कृष्णा।
थैंक यू
हरे कृष्णा टू हर ग्रेस सेविका माधवी माता जी, हरे कृष्णा माता जी, प्रणाम।
हरे कृष्णा माता जी, धन्यवाद, प्रणाम। हरे कृष्णा टू ऑल।
ओवर टू यू माता जी।
थैंक यू माता जी, हरे कृष्णा। Hare Krishna. So let us start with a small kirtan. We'll do Radha Madhav and then we'll start. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Priti Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivara Dari Jaya Girivara Dari Jaya Yashodhana Jaya Brajajana Sanjana Jaya Yashodhana Jaya Brajajana Sanjana Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachaji Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachaji Jaya Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Hare Krishna Maha ki jai, Hari Bol, Hare Krishna. Welcome you all to the session of the morning session of Shrimad Bhagavatam. We are in the 4th canto. I will be covering today from 23rd to 26th. Am I audible to all? Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
So we start with the Mangalacharan and then we proceed. Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahaganam Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padana Sahaganam Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrinda Vaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namachintamani Krishna Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purnashuddho Nityamukto Abhinatvam Nama Namino Jai Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vatsadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The invocation prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottama Divim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiraye. Nigamakалпатароргалитам phalam Shukamakhadamrita Samyutam Ivata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam Mahuraho Rasika Bhuvi Bhavukaha Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Sarvasya chaham hridhi sannivishto matasthatirjnanamapohanam cha vedescha sarvairahameva vedyo vedanta kritved ved eva chaham nana shastra vicharanaika nipuno saddharma sanstapako Lokanam hitakarino tribhuvane manyo sharanyakaro Radha Krishna padaravinda bhajana Nande namattaliko Vande rupa sanatano raghuyugo Shri Jiva Gopalako Sarvasastra-vipiyusha sarva-vedaika-satphala sarva-siddhanta-ratnadya sarva-lokaika-dikprada sarva-bhagavata-prana Shrimad-bhagavata-prabho Kali-dvando-ditta-ditya Shri Krishna Parivartita Paramananda-pathaya Prema-varshi-aksharayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Shri Krishnaya Namastume Madeka Bandhu Matsangin Madguru Manmahadana Manishtaraka Madbhagya Madananda Namostute Asadu Sadhu Tadayin Ati Nicho Chatakara Anamuncha Kadachinmam Prem Narat Kantayospura Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Please accept my humble obeisances. As I say always, I am doing this seva to satisfy my Guru, for the pleasure of the Lord, and for my own purification. Kindly bless me. I speak in a correct mood, and if any mistake, please forgive me. So today we are doing the third canto, that is the status quo. And in the third canto is the fourth chapter, Vidura approaches Maitreya Muni. We covered up to 22nd verse, right? And in the first three verses, we saw the disappearance of the Yadu, like how the Yadus, they drank liquor and then they became delirious. They were destroyed by each other because there would no one who can kill, destroy them. They destroyed each other under the influence of Maya. And then at Dwarka, Lord Krishna told Uddhava that you should go to Badrika ashram and preach. But Uddhava followed Lord, and then they reached Pabhakshetra, where the Lord was sitting under a banyan tree. And during that time, it is the will of the Lord that during that time itself, Maitra Muni comes and he also stays with them. He sits beside Lord Krishna. Though he was not a Kevala Bhakta, but still Lord allowed him to hear the instructions that he was going to tell Uddhava. So the Lord told Uddhava that knowing your desire for my association, I tell you, I award you this Chatushloki, which was told to Lord Brahma. Then from 14 to 18, we see that how Uddhava is telling Lord that I want your service. That is what I want, rather than Purushartha, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. More than that, I prefer to be in your service. Okay, your service, your activities, even the great sages get bewildered. So kindly explain to me, give me the transcendental knowledge about you. So then in 19 to 20, the Lord instructed Uddhava about the Paramam Sthiti, about his transcendental knowledge. And then when the Lord left for this material world, that time he was feeling separation from the Lord. But to compensate for that, to mitigate over that, what we do, we have to follow, right? They say, no, when we follow the instructions of the Lord, that means we are in the company of the Lord. When we follow the instructions of our Guru, though the Guru is not there with us, but still we are in the company of the Guru. So similarly, Uddhava also, he decides that he would follow the instructions of the Lord to mitigate his separation and proceeds towards Badrikashram. So before that, Uddhava is asking, because is asked by Vidura, because Vidura knew that Uddhava had been instructed by Lord Krishna. So he wanted to know about it. So he asked Vidura about the transcendental knowledge, about the spiritual knowledge. And then when Vidura asked Uddhava directs him to Maitreya Muni. This is the most important topic that we are going to discuss. It is about Maryada Vyatikrama. It is very important for us, for our spiritual. We have to avoid this. We should know what does it mean and how to avoid offenses so as to help us in our spiritual. With this small note, we start with the 23rd verse. So here we see that Shri Shukha Uvacha. Shukha is telling to Parikshit Maharaj. Now that Uddhava, he asked a few various questions, like in the earlier verses or chapters also we knew that when Vidura meets Uddhava, he asks various questions. He inquires about all his relatives, then he inquires about Krishna. Then before that, how Uddhava, when being inquired about the Lord, he first goes into ecstasy thinking about the Lord. And then he starts telling about all the leelas of the Lord in Vrindavan, outside Vrindavan. So let us see now what further about Uddhava and Vidura's conversation. So would anybody would like to repeat after me?
Hare Krishna Mataji,
Yes, Hare Krishna Mataji. Shri Sukha Uvacha.
Shri Shukha Uvacha.
Iti Uddhavat Upakarnya.
Iti Uddhavat Upakarnya.
Suhurdam Duhu Samvadam.
Suhrudam Druhu Sahamvadam.
Jnanena Shamayat Shatta.
Jnanena Shamayat Shatta.
Suksham Utpatitam Buddhaha.
Shokam Utpatitam Buddhaha.
Anybody else would like to recite?
Shalli Mataji.
Yes.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Sri Shukovacha iti uddhavat upakanya suhridam lusaham vadam jnanena samayakshata sokam Utpatitam Buddha. Thank you, Mataji.
Shokam,
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Shokam, Mataji.
No. The translation,
May I read, Mataji? Hare Krishna,
Yes.
Dandavat Pranam.
pranams.
Translation, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Sri Sukadeva Goswami said, after hearing from Uddhava all about the annihilation of his friends and relatives, the learned Vidura pacified his overwhelming bewilderment by dint of his transcendental knowledge. Purport.
Correct.
Shall I continue the purport?
Right. No, Mataji. Here see. Here Shuka said that Uddhava was after hearing Upakarnya, after hearing about what Vadam, after the killing, that is Suhurdam and Duhasa, that his friends and relatives have been killed. He became morose, right? But Jnana Samyak Shata Shokam Utpatitam Buddha, he was able to come out of this bereavement or the grief which was undergoing only because he was empowered. He had the knowledge. So this is what he's telling, that those when certain things happen in our life, right? People, especially when near and dear ones leaves us and go, there are some people who be in that mode of grief for a longer time. That is emotion, yes, but then we have to come out of it. But it is very easy for those to overcome the grief when they are in knowledge. That is what it is. Uddhava was very much disturbed when he came to know that his relatives had died in the battlefield. But because of the dent of the knowledge, because of the knowledge which he had, he was able to overcome it. So we will understand through the purport. Lavanya Mataji, Lavanya Lalita Devi Dasi Mataji, please read.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Pranams Mataji. Vidura was informed that the result of the battle of Kurukshetra was the annihilation of his friends and relatives, as well as the destruction of the Yadu dynasty, and also the passing away of the Lord. All these hurled him into bereavement for the time being. But because he was highly advanced in transcendental knowledge, he was quite competent to pacify himself by enlightenment. As it is stated in Bhagavad Gita, due to our long association with bodily relationships, bereavement on account of the annihilation of friends and relatives is not at all astonishing, but one has to learn the art of subduing such bereavement with higher transcendental knowledge. The talks between Uddhava and Vidura on the topic of Krishna began at sunset, and Vidura was now further advanced in the knowledge due to his association with Uddhava. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. So here we see that Uddhava, it is Vidura. Did I say Uddhava? It is Vidura. Vidura by the dint of the knowledge. If I said Vidura, Vidura, it was who came out of. It was not Uddhava. If I said Vidura, yeah, Vidura, yes, that is it. So we see that here.
Bereavement.
So we see that Vidura was in great distress, sort of mood, because when he heard his relatives there. So here Prabhupada is trying to explain is that because of his highly advanced knowledge, he was able to pacify him. And Bhagavad Gita, as it is stated in Bhagavad Gita, that due to the long association with the bodily relationship, right? That is because of the attachment. Yeah. So Vidura, because of this attachment to, for a normal person also, it is said that whatever the miseries we go, it is because of the attachment which we have, right? Attachment to the family, attachment to the relatives, attachment to the society, to the some extent that attachment to the country as well. We see that some people are so much, that is the reason that so many wars are going around between the two countries for the deed of land, right? Prabhupada says that this is all illusion because we do not know the exact knowledge. What is this? Like what should be our real attachment is. but we are attached to the temporary things. And these are the reasons for anxiety and failures. So once in the earlier days, when Prabhupada had not come into, Krishna conscious movement, also he was a great follower of Gandhi. So one of his friend, Narendra Malik, had forced him, you come meet this sage. He's very enlightened guru. He's not like the other ordinary gurus. So Prabhupada, because his friend forced him, he went to meet Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakura. So it was the first time he was going to meet. And then they met, as they entered the room, he paid obeisances to the sage. And then he paid obeisance, and he did not fully stand also. Before that itself, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakura said, you are educated young men. Why don't you go and preach? So Prabhupada was also shocked. This is the first meeting. And then the sage was telling to go and preach. So Prabhupada, because of nationalism, he said that we are under British rule. Who will listen to our culture? First, we have to become independent. That is what he said. So he thought that the spiritual life was a luxury which could be afforded after independence. Right? So, and he was thinking that now spiritual liberation means that our country should become independent. So that time, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakura was very well versed in his scriptures, had a profound knowledge. So he says that, Lord Krishna says that, right? Sarva dharman parityaja, leave up all the dharma, right? And you surrender unto me. I will deliver you from all the miseries. In Shrimad Bhagavatam also it says that dharma prochita kaitava dharma, right? We give up all the kaitava dharma, right? And then surrender unto me. I will deliver you. So when he said that, he was really convinced, So even you can see that situation, how it was. But then because of the profound knowledge and the way he was very confidently and with authoritatively, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakura would say, and that really touched him. He accepted it. So we see that this attachment is something that, pulls us in every aspect. Even Kunti Maharani, if you remember in her prayers, she was telling that cut off all the attachment that I have towards my relatives or my family members if they are an obstacle to my devotional service. Even Lord Brahma says, he was enlightened by the Lord to create this universe. But then before that, he offers prayer that creating the universe, it is very likely that I will get attached to it. So he prays to the Lord that though I am instrumental to generate these living entities, please, I pray that I should never be conditioned to it. So that is what, they should, whatever activities we do, we should do it as a service to the Lord. Yagnartat karo anyatra, what will happen? Loko yam karma bandhana. We will get attached to it. And when there is attachment, then it is very difficult to overcome. So that attachment will become a hurdle for our spiritual growth. So here it is said how important, like Purijana Das Prabhu's lecture, he was giving one example that there were a group of people who wanted to attend a marriage. So they had to cross a river. So they hired a ferry, and then it was by the evening time where they had embarked their journey, and they had hired a ferry and they had boarded it. Okay. And then during the night, they all slept. And next day morning, when they woke up, they were still at the shore. And then they realized that the boat was not detached from the anchor. It was still attached to it. So that would be, so in this ocean of misery, right? If we have to go with the flow, right? There is a guru who is guiding us. There is favorable ways in the form of Vedas. So if we want to progress, we have to have detachment. But that detachment should not be like in a fanatic way. It should be yukta vairagya. Whatever it says, right? You do your prescribed duty, right? Other enunciation, it is falgu vairagya. That is not correct. It should be yukta vairagya. everything should be for the service of the Lord, and then we should proceed. So that is how Vidura was very much in knowledge of it. So he understood that we are the part and parcels of the Lord. Even Lord Krishna in the war, he tells Arjuna, right? You are just an instrument. All these people have already died, right? So you just follow my instructions. Similarly, we have to follow our prescribed duty, not be too much attached to material sense gratification, to the relatives, to the family, to the country, to the society. And both should go parallel to activities in the service of the Lord. So thus, the talks between Uddhava and Vidura on the topic of Krishna began at sunset, and Vidura was now further advanced in knowledge due to his association with Uddhava. Now Uddhava told him about various past tense, so now he wanted to know about the instructions also. So now we will listen further what instruction would Uddhava give to Vidura. We will read the 24th and the 25th, we will do together. We see many hands raised.
Mataji, can I read the shloka?
Yes, Mataji.
Hare
Those who have
Krishna.
read once may give a chance to this also, no problem. If you have not read Mataji, you can go ahead.
Yeah. Satam Mahabhagavatam Vrajantam Kauravarshavaha Vishrambhat Abhyadattedam Mukhyam Krishna Parigrahe. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare. Anybody? Nandini Mataji, you can
May
take up.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare.
Translation. While Uddhava, the chief and most confidential amongst the devotees of the Lord, was going away, Vidura, in affection and confidence, questioned him. Shall I proceed, Mataji?
The purport somebody else can take.
Yes, Mataji. I can read, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji.
Text 24. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Vidura was much older than Uddhava. By family relationship, Uddhava was a contemporary brother of Krishna's, while Vidura was as elderly as Krishna's father, Vasudeva. But although junior by age, Uddhava was much advanced in the devotional service of the Lord, and therefore he is described herein as the chief amongst the devotees of the Lord. Vidura was confident about this, and thus he addressed Uddhava in that higher category. That is the way of courteous dealings between two devotees.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you. Hare Krishna.
Radhika Mataji, the verse.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you so much. Vidura vacha jnanam param swatmaraha prakasham yadaha yogeshvara ishvaraste vaktum bhavano ritayaddi vishno pritya swabhrityartha kritascharanti. Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Krishnamurti Prabhuji, the translation.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Translation by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Prabhupada ki jai. Vidura said, O Uddhava, because the servants of Vishnu, the Lord, wander in the interest of serving others, it is quite fit that you kindly describe the self-knowledge with which you have been enlightened by the Lord himself. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare. Shobha Mataji, for the purport.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavad
Hare Krishna.
Pranam. Sorry for the delay. There was some mistake in the phone. Purport by Srila Prabhupada, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Prabhupada ki jai. Purport. Am I audible, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji.
The servants of the Lord are actually the servants of society. They have no interest in human society other than to enlighten its transcendental knowledge. They are interested in imparting knowledge of the relationship of the living being with the Supreme Law, the activities in the transcendental relationship, and the ultimate goal of human life. This is the real knowledge which can help society achieve the real aim of human welfare. Knowledge
In the matter of the body, necessities of eating, sleeping, mating, and fearing transformed into various branches of advancement of knowledge is all temporary. All living being is not the material body but an eternal part and parcel of the Supreme Being, and thus revival of this self knowledge is essential. Without this knowledge, the human life is baffled. The servants of the Lord Vishnu are entrusted with this responsible work, and so they wander over the earth and to all other planets in the universe. Thus, the knowledge which was revived by Uddhava directly from the Lord deserves to be distributed in human society, especially to persons like Vithura, who are highly advanced in the devotional service of the Lord. Real transcendental knowledge descends in the disciplic succession from the Lord to Uddhava, from Uddhava to Vidura, and so on. Such supreme transcendental knowledge is not possible to achieve by the process of imperfect speculation as performed by the so-called learned mundane wranglers. Vithura was anxious to know from Uddhava that confidential knowledge known as Paramam Sthitim, in which the Lord is known by his transcendental pastimes. Although Vidura was older than Uddhava, he was anxious to become servant of Uddhava in the transcendental relationship. This formula of transcendental disciplic succession is taught by Lord Chaitanya also. Lord Chaitanya advises that one receives transcendental knowledge from anyone, whether a Brahmana or a Sudra, a householder or a sannyasi, provided that the person is fa- factually conversant with the signs of Krishna. A person who knows the signs of Krishna is factually a bona fide spiritual master. Hare Krishna, Dandat Pranam Mataji, Hari Bol. Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna. Hare Krishna. So we see that Uddhava is the brother of Lord Krishna, right? So, and he was, though he was junior by age, but he was very much advanced because throughout he was in company of Lord Krishna, right? So he was considered as the chief among the devotees of the Lord. And Vidura was very confident about this, and that is why he wanted to know. He know that he has been instructed by the Lord, so he wanted to know more about those instructions. So he's asking Uddhava, Vidura is asking Uddhava to speak about it. So then further in the 25th verse, it says that it talks about the duty of a transcendentalist, who are well versed in the transcendental knowledge. What is their duty? Their duty is to preach. So here in the purport, Prabhupada says that what is their duty? It is to enlighten about the transcendental knowledge to the conditioned soul, right? And moreover that, they should also explain the activities, how they should do to achieve the ultimate goal of our human life. So this is the responsibility of the servants of the Lord. But as the conditions, what would be our responsibility is we should know what we should try to think. What is our ultimate goal? Where should we proceed? Should we engage our life in sense gratification? Is that our ultimate goal? Or should we have a spiritual life? Or we should take how to take it both simultaneously? So that desire should come within us, right? And when that desire comes within us, we search, how the knowledge. When we have that desire, the Lord also understands it, right? And then He makes an arrangement. We get somebody or the another, a Vaishnava, a devotee who would come in your life, who would impart this knowledge. So it becomes our responsibility also to know about our tattva, like what is our constitutional position. When we think like that, we come across a guru. Similarly, and a guru, and who is well versed in this, in the subject, it is his duty that not to keep the knowledge within himself, but to impart. That is the welfare that you can do to the society rather than any other philanthropic work. That is, they are all temporary. So that further in the purport, Prabhupada says that this is the knowledge that can bring about welfare to the people rather than mundane knowledge. Right? We are so much interested in knowing. People are when we call them for Krishna Katha, they are very busy. They make all other excuses. But whenever there is any topic and any gossip going on, very much interested. Everybody will gather around, to hear it. So, but Prabhupada says, but not because they do not have that knowledge that this is all temporary. This is not going to help us in any way. It is just like a pilgrim of the crows who are always surviving on the polluted path, all the things that are decaying. Similarly, any knowledge, any mundane knowledge is just like it is compared to the pilgrimage of the crows. That is what it is said. And then we should understand that however we advanced, we say that we have advanced technology, we have advanced facilities, making our life comfort, but this human life is meant for austerity. This is what we are forgetting. And see, we say that we have advanced, we are trying, again, a Chandrayana has been sent to the moon. But whatever, when a natural calamity comes, there is nothing that we can do. Just a few days back, not few days back, I think it was 5th August. Nobody in our place will forget about that day. It was just a matter of 15 minutes, we had the thunderstorm and rains, heavy rains. I could tell that it was around 4 o'clock where I just left. I had to drop my daughter. I left. That time it was, and here June, July, August is very hot. Very hot means the temperature, it rises, it soars even up to 50 degrees. It is so hot. 4 o'clock when I went, it was really very hot. By 4:40, as I was entering into the parking, I could, the storm, the sandstorm, the way it was just like a hurricane, Immediately, I was lucky enough that I could enter the parking. But as I was going from one level to the another level through the windows, you can hear the wind coming in, with sandstorm. The visibility was really very low. Somehow parked. And when I went to the left, towards the left, out of the 3, 2 had stopped working. See, technology fails, nothing. Natural calamities, nothing works. And then in 15, somehow reached home. Within 15 minutes, 5:20, 5:10, the rain had stopped, right? And I had to go. I had an evening shift. I had to go. When I was going back, I saw that our quadrangle, it is lined by so many trees. Most of the trees were uprooted. Onto the road when I went, the roads were filled with water. Nobody could do anything. That 15 minutes, everybody was. What did the technology do? Nothing. So we should understand that was just a trailer which was given. I would feel, we are engaged in so much of activities that. So always we should think that there is nothing in our hands. This is all advancement materially which we are doing is temporary. The only solace which we get, it is by hearing the activities of the Lord, the Krishna Katha, that will help in our purification and in our Chintamani Prabhu. Haribol. So we should know what is our original constitution. Yes, Prabhu, can you please mute? Haribol, I think, can somebody help?
Yes, Mataji, muted.
Thanks, Mataji. So we understand that our position is we are just part and parcel of the Lord, right? And we should try to revive, that dormant devotion within us. And this is possible only in the association, with the association of the devotees. So we should take every opportunity to associate with the devotees, to learn something from them, which will help in our advancement. Prabhupada said that without this knowledge, without the transcendental knowledge, our human life is baffled, right?
प्राइमरी होता है. अच्छा, वो प्राइमरी है. वो वैसे बोलते हैं.
Chintamani Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
उनका लाइन होता रहता.
I've muted him. Yeah. Okay, Prabhu. Mataji, yeah, please. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem, Mataji. This is what happens when we try to take spiritual and material.
Mataji, you are giving the example of technology. So here
Yes,
Krishna
yes.
is showing us.
Yes, Mataji. Yeah. So now how should the transcendental knowledge? So now it is said that yes, we have to advance. We have to invoke that dormant devotion within us. That is true. You have to get the transcendental knowledge. Further, how should we get the transcendental knowledge? So it is said that we should hear it from those who are in a disciplic succession. That means from an authorized source. I always say that we should hear everything we want smart, right? So our hearing should always be smart. S stands for the source. Source should be from a, maybe who are attending regularly would know this acronym. S stands for source. Sources, we should hear it from an authorized source. And M stands for, anybody remembers that? It's our mood. In what mode? We should always be in a what you call a humble way, right? In a surrendered mode. Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti tad jnanam jnaninas tattva darshina. A servitor, a surrendered mode. When we are in a surrendered mode, everything will be revealed. We should have the vow of service, because that is our, yes, submissive mode. Very good, Suma Mataji. Mode. Then what is A? A-R-T. A is attention. Yes, we should hear it with attention, right? When we are doing, it's said that when we are hearing Krishna Katha, then we should focus only on that. Otherwise, we will not get the message that is being conveyed through each and every words. Then is R. We should repeat whatever we hear. We should try to recollect it, right? And T is teach. Teach it to someone. Tell it to others, right? So that maybe it becomes a revision for you also, and then you can also think over it, and then you can assimilate that in your life. So always our hearing should be in a smart way. So here it says that do not hear it from the other mundane wranglers. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that hearing from others, it is just like, a milk that is touched by a serpent, poisonous. Why poisonous? Because it causes our spiritual suicide. It actually gives a completely different message where one tries to become the Lord, which is completely wrong. That is why spiritual suicide it is. We have to be the servant. That is the message. But the Mayavadi's philosophy is trying to be one with the Lord. So this is where you have to be very careful. And so understanding, as Vidura was very anxious to know, Uddhava gave him the confidential knowledge. That is why it is that.
Can you just repeat the word, Mataji, the acronym?
Smart Mataji. Yes.
Thank you, Mataji.
Smart.
Mataji, S stands for source, M stands for mood, A stands for attention, M stands for what, Mataji?
S-M-A-R-R.
Ah, that's what S-M-A, R stands for?
R stands for repetition.
Oh, repetition,
Repeat.
okay. And T is training, that I got it, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Yeah, teach it. Yeah. So then he tells him about the confidential knowledge. Confidential knowledge is always told to a confidential, intimate. So we should try to be the intimate, servitor that way. So then the Lord and his transcendental pastimes would be known. So although then now Vidura was older than Uddhava, you can see that Uddhava was same as that of Lord Krishna. And Lord Krishna, Arjuna, they were all on the same age, right? And who was Uddhava? Vidura. Vidura was uncle, right? So he was a generation ahead. So Vidura was older than Uddhava, right? So that is why he was. But even then, you can see, knowing that Uddhava has that relationship which he had with the Lord, the amount of knowledge he had, he was very eager to know it from, Vidura was very eager to know it from Uddhava, right? So this is the submissive mode. We should not have that ego. Oh, I am big, I am this, I cannot ask. No, we should always be submissive. Then further, it is said that, this is a very good, who can be a guru? In Chaitanya Charitamrita, it says that, Hiba Vipra, Hiba Nyasi, Shudra Kene Hoi, right? It can be anyone, a Brahmana, a sannyasi, even for that Shudra. But he should be Yei Krishna Tattva Vetta. He should be in full knowledge about Krishna. Sei Guru Hoy. So whoever we come across in a disciplic succession from an authorized source who has the transcendent, who knows about this confidential knowledge, we should be ever be ready to surrender and take that knowledge from him. Further, the 26th verse. Yeah. Anybody new who has raised their hand can pick up. Ramakrishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Can I read the sloka?
Yes, Prabhu. Recite.
Uddhava Uvacha Nanute Tattva Samradhya Rishi Kausa Arvo Nitike Saksad Bhagavata Disto Matya Lokam Jitastata.
Jihasata. Yeah. Anyone? Uddhava Uvacha Nanute Tattva Samradhya Rishi Kausaravo Antike Sakshat Bhagavata Dishto Mrityalokam Jihasata. Translation.
Can I read, Mataji?
Somebody, Divya Desai Mataji.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sri Uddhava said, you may take lessons from the great learned sage Maitreya, who is nearby and who is worshipable for reception of transcendental knowledge. He was directly instructed by the personality of Godhead while he was about to quit this mortal world. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. The purport, somebody new who has
Amita
not.
Khosla Mataji. Amita Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Although one may be well versed in the transcendental science, one should be careful about the offense of Maryada Vyatikarma, or impertinently surpassing a greater personality. According to scriptural injunction, one should be very careful of transgressing the law of Maryada Vratikarma, because by so doing one loses his duration of life, his opulence, fame, and pity, and the blessings of all the world. To be well versed in the transcendental science necessitates awareness of the techniques of spiritual science. Uddhava, being well aware of all these technicalities of transcendental science, advised Vidura to approach Maitreya Rishi to receive transcendental knowledge. Vidura wanted to accept Uddhava as his spiritual master, but Uddhava did not accept the post because Vidura was as old as Uddhava's father, and therefore Uddhava could not accept him as his disciple, especially when Maitreya was present nearby. The rule is that in the presence of a higher personality, one should not be very eager to impart instructions, even if one is competent and well-versed. So Uddhava decided to send an Uddhava decided to send an elderly person like Vidura to Maitreya. Another elderly person, but he was well-versed also because he was directly instructed by the Lord. While he was about to quit this mortal world, Mataji, can you just, yes. Since both Uddhava and Maitreya were directly instructed by the Lord, both had the authority to become the spiritual master of Vidura or anyone else. But Maitreya, being elderly, had the first claim to becoming the spiritual master, especially for Vidura, who was much older than Uddhava. One should not be eager to become a spiritual master cheaply for the sake of profit and fame, but should become a spiritual master only for the service of the Lord. The Lord never tolerates the impertinence of Maryada Vyakti Karma,
Krama.
Vyatikrama. One should never pass over the honor due to an elderly spiritual master in the interest of one's own personal gain and fame. Impertinence on the part of the pseudo-spiritual master is very risky to progressive spiritual realization. Haribol Mataji.
Haribol. This is very important, very, very important in our spiritual growth. You know, we should always respect others. We should not try to transgress. We should try to understand our position, what we are. If there is any senior devotee, we should respect. We should not, oh, I'm attending now every day Shrimad Bhagavatam, so I have all the knowledge, so I can know. We should be very careful. Even though you know, if there is a senior devotee, we should not express. So I will tell you one story. This is from Chaitanya Charita. It is in the Antalila, 4th chapter, from 100, 120, 25, 30, 36 onwards. It is talking about Srila Sanatana Goswami. So once Srila Sanatana Goswami from Vrindavan, he had taken the Jharkhand way. He had to reach Puri. So while traveling through that way, Jharkhand, he had taken bath in some water, because of which he developed some skin infection. Okay, and because of that infection, he had developed all blisters all over his body, and it was very itchy. It was so itchy that at one point, Srila Sanatana Goswami had actually thinking about committing suicide. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to know about this, he said that you have given your body, mind, and words, you know, for the service of the Lord. So you now do not have any right over it. You do not have the right to suicide. You know, that is how he convinced him. So then later on, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told you come over to Puri. He suggested Srila Sanatana Goswami to come over to Puri. So to go to Puri, Srila Sanatana Goswami, he chose the long path which was along the beach. You know, and there was another through which he could enter the temple through the Simhadwar. But he did not consider himself that elevated, because we know that Sanatana Goswami and Srila Rupa Goswami, these two brothers, they were working for in the Hussein's Darbar, right? So because of that, he did not consider himself qualified. So he took up that path, because of which he had developed all blisters on his leg, and blood was oozing out. As a result of this, when he reached Puri, he was trying to avoid embracing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because he did not want him to be contaminated by his blood. So he was avoiding that. But even then, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went and hugged him again and again, you know, and this helped him to relieve him of his pain. So then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu suggested him that you stay in Puri and till Rath Yatra. Okay, and after that you can leave. So Srila Sanatana Goswami agreed to it. He asked him permission, right? Yeah, I will stay in Puri till the Rath Yatra. I discussed this with Jagannatha also, that after that, can I go back to Vrindavan? He asked like that. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard that, he has, because for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Srila Sanatana Goswami was on a fatherly level, you know. He would, whenever, sometimes it was like, you know, to glorify his devotees, the Lord, you know, he takes up all the opportunity. He would take advice also from Srila Sanatana Goswami. And he said that it is mentioned that Srila Sanatana Goswami is of that level that even the great sages and the demigods would come for just a touch, because his only touch would purify him. He was such an elevated devotee. So when he heard that Jagannatha Pandit also advised him, he became very angry. He said that, and Jagannatha Pandit is not Jagadananda Pandit is not an ordinary person also. Actually, he is the an incarnation of Satyabhama in the Madhurya Bhav, you know. But here we see that Srila Sanatana Goswami is senior, whereas Jagannatha Pandit is young boy, you know, that way. But so he was, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is telling that even materially, if you see that you are so elderly to him, spiritually also you are more you are at a level that you are of like a spiritual master, and there he advised you. That way he was asking. So then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, how is it you are the one from whom I take advice? You are so authorized. The word, he said that you are Pramanika Arya, that authorized you are. And he has advised you to this. Sanatana Goswami, see how the great devotees of the Lord, see their mode of thinking. He is telling, oh, Jagananda Pandit is so lucky. He is one of those intimate people who are with you, who is drinking, eating, sleeping, everything with you, doing all your activities. Actually, he is drinking the nectar of your affection. While me, you are giving me respect, you are giving me reverence, you are offering praise to me. That is, you are making me drink the bitter juice of Nimba. That way he was thinking, like how intimate he is. He was trying to explain. So then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, no, why I'm angry is that because I do not like anyone. I do not tolerate, this is what I do not tolerate when transgression of standard etiquette is happening, right? Though both were at that level elevated, but he does not like any transgression of standard etiquette. This is what we have to understand. Very Vaishnava Aparadh. We remember like how Amrisha Maharaj, he was insulted by Dhruvasa, and how Lord does not accept it. He sent his Sudarshan Chakra. Even later, he could not withdraw. Only he had to ask mercy of the devotee. Similarly, when we are in the association of a devotee in Satsanga, and when we should be very careful about Vaishnava Aparadh. It is very detrimental. For it says, right, in the Purport Prabhupada says that your duration of life, your opulence, everything deteriorates. So there is a article written by Bhakti Charu Maharaj about Vaishnava etiquette. He says that Sadachara, it is an ornament of a Vaishnava. We should always be in a mode of goodness. That is why we have all the regulative principles to keep us in this mode. Otherwise, no passion, no ignorance is accepted. We should be in the mode of goodness. That is our ornament. Prabhupada says that a Vaishnava is a gentleman. That is how we can recognize him, right? We should always be humble in our action, right? We should respect our elders just like our parents. Whenever we see an elder Vaishnava, we should try to receive affection from them, pay respect to them. All our gurus, guru, not only our guru, all the gurus, brother, God brothers, we should respect them also, same like our guru. All the sannyasis, we should respect them as our guru. A senior Vaishnava, if at all a senior Vaishnava, out of his humility, he pays respect to the junior. The junior should not take it as a pride. Pray to the Lord, ask for their blessings, right? It is their humility which they are showering on us. So we should take it as a blessing and not pride. If at all between the seniors, if at all there is any disagreement, do not interfere. Remain neutral, because Srila Prabhupada says that it is a kind of a pastime which is happening, which is beyond our understanding. So do not interfere in them. As if when we are preaching it to someone, we should do it in a compassionate mode and not with pride. A spiritual master address him always as his divine grace, or sannyasi as his holiness, and with each other we address, right, as Prabhu, as Mata. When somebody calls us, we should not take pride. We should take it. We should accept it as with humility and not pride. Prabhupada says that we should always be cooperative with each other, be tolerant, and be forbearing. Narada Muni, in the 4th canto, he says that when you meet someone more qualified, be very pleased to meet him, right? And not envious, right? If he has progressed, that is because of the degree of surrender. He has surrendered to the Lord. To that degree, he is getting the mercy of the Lord. There is nothing to be envious of. We should also try to get knowledge. In fact, we should get knowledge from him rather than being envious. And if somebody is less qualified, be compassionate to them. Give them the understanding which you have. and somebody equal to us, we should have friendship with. In one of the letters, there was some disagreement between the devotees. So one of the letters Prabhupada has written that we are all part and parcels of the Lord. We have come with certain swabhava. So disagreements will be there, but we should not dwell in it. We should consider what is that central point for which we all have come together. We should focus on it, right? So we have come here to understand the transcendental knowledge of the Lord, to serve the Lord, serving the Lord, and serving like how is like we can take that opportunity of to serve his devotees, and like our spiritual master and his servants, like how a king is served. Along with the king, we also serve the his cabinet ministers. Similarly, we have to serve our spiritual master along with this. And how do we serve? By following his instruction. And along with that, if we get an opportunity personally also, we serve also with the servants of our spiritual master. So we should be very careful when we are in the association of the devotees to avoid Vaishnava Aparadh, because Vaishnava Aparadh is very grave to overcome. It will result in our downfall. So that is about Maryada Vyatikrama. And that is all for today's session. So just a summary of what we did. First, we heard that because if we have the correct knowledge, we can overcome the grief. That is, if somebody can read this summary, it would be good. And with that, we end the session. Anybody would like to take?
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Mataji,
Krishna.
may I?
Yeah, yes, now Kishori Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Dandavat pranam, Mataji.
Pranam.
23 to 27, Vidura sought spiritual knowledge from Uddhava. 23, knowledge mitigates grief after hearing about the annihilation of relatives. Vidura pacified his overwhelming bereavement by dint of his transcendental knowledge that Uddhava spoke from 3.2.7. 24, while Mahabhagavata, Uddhava was going away. Kaurava Sabha, Vidura, thank you, Mataji. Kaurava Sabha, Vidura questioned him affection and confidence. Vidura to Uddhava. 25, devotees ventured to deliver because the servant of Vishnu ventured in the interest of serving others. Vishnur Bharatya Swa Bharatya Kritas Charnati.
Charanti.
So Sharnati.
Okay.
So you kindly describe the self-knowledge with which you have been enlightened by the Lord. Although a component Uddhava was not ready to accept the elder and respectable Vidura as his disciple, especially when the elderly Maitreya was nearby, and he was careful about the offense of Maryada Vyatikama or impertinently, surprising a great personality, Uddhava to Vidura. You may take lessons from the great learned sage Maitreya. So he was also directly instructed by the Lord.
Haribol.
Haribol Mataji. Thank you.
So much. Granth Shrimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you so much, Mataji. Very nice class. Hari Hari. Any questions or comments? Okay. So we can end here, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji. Very good.
Pancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva paditana pavane vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnavidi ki jai. Srila Prabhupada. Jai Gaura Premanande. Everyone is in weekend mood, huh? No questions.
No,
Okay.
Mataji, class is like, no, Mataji's class
Very clearly explained, Mataji.
There was
will be no
clear.
question.
Yeah, right.
So we'll
Agree.
understand very clearly.
Agree.
So far,
Okay.
Yeah.
No, it's always
Thank
like
you
that.
so much, Mataji.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you to
Mataji.
all the
Hare
devotees.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Pranam. Pranam,
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Dandavat pranam. Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna, Mataji. Thank you. Dandavat pranam.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Dandavat pranam. Thank you so much.
Shall I end the
Hare
session,
Krishna.
Mataji?
yes, yes, yes.
Hare Krishna. Okay, Pranam.